Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining me today on Unboxed Autos. Today we are sitting here in the fully updated and refreshed 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450. Now, the GLS is the largest SUV in Mercedes-Benz lineup of vehicles, and it really is the utilitarian sort of workhorse SUV within that lineup. So of course, you have some really cool off-road vehicles like the G-Wagon, and you of course have some sportier models like the GLC, things like that. But the GLS is really where it happens in terms of, size, space for families. And of course, they do have an AMG within the GLS lineup, which does boast their twin turbocharged V8 engine. But right here in the GLS 450, we are sitting here with the inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it really does make a lot of power for what it does, and it really does come on very, very nicely. I would say that you're not missing anything by not getting the V8, although of course that is a lot of fun. In terms of numbers on the GLS 450, you're looking at a starting price of the GLS 450 line of about $87,000. It does seat up to 7 passengers. So right here in this configuration we have, it seats 3 in the middle, 2 in the back, and 2 in front. You can also have it set up though for 2 in the middle, 2 in the back, and 2 up front if you would prefer that configuration. Now, in terms of 0 to 60, the GLS 450 does it in a brisk 5.8 seconds, and it makes around 380 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, which is very respectable for this vehicle. And of course, all that torque comes in extremely low, being a turbocharged engine, very low in the RPM band, so you get all that power right up front. I've never felt myself lacking power, being like, oh, this car doesn't have enough. So that is really nice to note. In terms of styling, the GLS is a very bold vehicle. It has very steep, specific on-road presence, and that is partly due to the large grille. The grille has been enlarged. The Mercedes-Benz logo is even bigger than it has been before. Really imposing vehicle is, I think, a really good word for it. Now, in terms of the other styling aspects of it, if you look at it from the side view, you can see it's very tall, very large vehicle, great for interior space. And in this model right here, we have the full panoramic view sunroof. So basically about 75% of the entire roof inside is glass, which lets a lot of nice natural light in, makes it feel more spacious inside. Another thing about the exterior that I do like is they have gone ahead and done something rather unique with the tail lamps. They have these individual little LED sort of squares on the back, which do give it sort of a unique look and something that otherwise you wouldn't notice would be sort of bland. But they've done that to give it a little bit of a more unique look and spice it up a little bit. Also, the headlights, I really like how they're placed. Really nice LED accenting, and especially when the turn signals come on, the LED daytime running lights sort of transition themselves from that running light and the turn signal. Looks pretty cool, and again, really just gives that imposing look when you're driving down the road, sort of that big look. Now, in terms of competition for the GLS 450, you're looking at Cadillac Escalade as a big contender. Of course, the BMW X7 as well. So those are some of its top competition, and even depending on what you're looking for and your needs, I would say that the GLS does stand out in the segment for a few reasons. One of those reasons is just how excellent it handles the road, and the entry-level powertrain just sort of whisks this car along. It really is a pleasure to drive, and when you see such a big, large, imposing SUV, you don't think, oh, that's going to be fun to drive, but honestly, it really is pretty nice to drive. I look forward to getting in the driver's seat, getting behind the wheel of the GLS. It's extremely quiet inside as well. They've done just a magnificent job in terms of making this vehicle quiet and vibration free on the road. When the engine's on, you cannot feel any vibrations from it. Even when you're doing a cold start, it is just finely tuned very nicely for that. And especially even when you're on the road, in terms of engine noise, it's very, very minimal. Sounds excellent in terms of not letting a lot of outside vibrations inside, and you do get a little bit of that like nice rumble when you're onto the power, but there's no annoying sort of whining noises or anything like that. It's a very well refined vehicle inside the GLS 450. I also really like the interior design. It is not super in your face in terms of, you know, tons of technology sort of bouncing out at you like you do get in a few vehicles these days which are within the segment. It's a more understated interior, which I like, and we also of course have some very nice luxury touches like open pore wood trim, excellent chrome accenting, stitched leather dashboard, and stitched leather of course on the door panels as well as the dashboard, as I mentioned up there. One thing that is cool too on the door panel, a lot of times up here in the top of the door panel, they go with a cheaper plastic material, but in the GLS 450 we still have nice, very soft leather with cool accent stitching to match this very nice sort of saddle interior color. I also really like these grab handles right here in the center console area. They look really robust and sort of give the GLS a muscular interior feeling. And in terms of the multimedia system, it's excellent. It doesn't use the latest system from Mercedes-Benz, which is sort of that vertical tablet system, but it uses the sort of long width system here, and I still love it. It's so nice to use. It's a pleasure to use. The graphics are just crystal clear, and I really just do not have enough good things to say about it. Of course, it's integrated here with Android Auto, so you can get that functionality if you want it, but you know, again, just hats off to Mercedes-Benz for always creating this such an excellent multimedia system with the graphics, which are just incredibly crisp and fun to look at all day. Now, another thing which is really nice about the GLS is the sound system. Right here we have the entry-level Brewmeister sound system, and you know, well, it's not going to blow the doors off like the premium sound system will, the 3D high-end sound system from Brewmeister, but for being a base sound system, it sounds really good. I will say though that it is not as good as the system in the Cadillac Escalade, but that being said, that system is particularly excellent, so I wouldn't necessarily expect GLS to blow the doors off of the Escalade in terms of base sound system. I've never heard the premium sound system in the GLS, so perhaps that is more up to par with the Escalade in terms of sound systems. But in terms of the rest of the interior of the vehicle, Escalade versus GLS versus X7, it really depends on what you're looking for. The GLS feels very well put together, rather bold and utilitarian, which I kind of like for this segment. The X7 almost feels a little bit overdone in my opinion for being an SUV, and I don't really like how the screens are integrated in the X7, but it does feel the most futuristic. The Escalade definitely tries to pull off the futuristic look. I really do like the wraparound screen that the Escalade offers. It's very nice, but just in terms of some of the little quality touches and details, it's not quite up to par, in my opinion, with something here like the GLS. Just it feels so well put together. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I'd say the GLS 450 feels the most utilitarian, sort of straightforward. So if you like that look for your large SUV, then you'll definitely like the GLS 450. I also, lastly, love the ambient lighting system in this vehicle. It looks absolutely magnificent. You can choose whatever color you want within the color wheel, and there's just a lot of cool places in which they put the accent lighting, like here in the center console area, of course, across the dashboard, door panels, and footwells to get going with that. But yeah, so let's go ahead now and get behind the wheel and talk about how this inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine does. Immediately, wow. It's so quiet. Can't get over that. It's so quiet in here. I also love their 3D view camera system, front and rear, of course 3D as well, because it's so accurate. A lot of times with these camera systems, they have a slight delay, even on something like a Bentley, and you're just like, what is wrong with this system? But not in the GLS or Mercedes lineup. Their system is always extremely fast and accurate, so that is very good. Now, another thing that you'll notice when driving the GLS is just how the air suspension adjusts to the bumps in the road. You can really feel it level itself off right away very quick response time on that when I'm going over speed bumps. You know, when you would go over a speed bump, generally you're going to have a little bit of a dive in the front, rise up, dive a little bit back, normal. In the GLS 450 with the air suspension, it really catches it on that first dive and levels it out right away, so you don't get that double bouncing action. So right there, went over, boom, stopped. It didn't do a double bounce. So that's something to note, that it just really does handle impurities in the road very nicely. Yes, obviously. I mean, you know, this is a GLS model, so it's going to definitely, of course, have one of the most comfortable suspension setups from Mercedes-Benz. Also handles body roll excellently too. I was quite surprised. You know, even when you're getting into the turns and stuff like that, it remains very, very level and stable. So, and this isn't even the AMG model, it's the GLS 450 as I mentioned before, so it's really going to be the most utilitarian focused model within the GLS lineup. And gosh, I mean, it's just really such a solid everyday car. And that's one thing about the GLS 450 that I would say is just it's an extremely easy car to live with every day. It's very quiet, very comfortable, quite efficient as well. In terms of fuel economy numbers, I've driven this car about 313 miles over the past week. I've done probably about 65% city driving, remainder highway driving, and it's gotten 21 mpg combined on the two, between, you know, more city of course and highway, which, you know, is really good for such a large heavy vehicle. And that's definitely right on par, slightly better than what some of the competition offers. Now, I will say in terms of technology, it is lacking a little bit in terms of when compared to the Escalade. The Escalade, of course, has the Super Cruise system, which is a hands-free highway driving technology. This does not have that. This is, you know, it still offers distance-guided cruise control, lane keep assist, which is, you know, nice to have, of course, but it doesn't offer that full hands-off driving experience like the Escalade does. It's also not quite as spacious inside in the third row as the Escalade, so that's something to keep in mind. But again, very direct competition, BMW X7. Really comes down to your preferences. They're both excellent vehicles with some pros and cons from each. You know, it just depends on what you like at this point. They're both excellent vehicles. Which would I choose if I was going for a family SUV? That is such a tough question. I want to say, off the top of my head, that if I was looking for a vehicle for the family, between the X7 and the GLS, I would personally get this GLS because I feel it's just a little bit of an easier vehicle to live with every day. It's going to be a little more luxury and comfort. The X7 is going to be a little bit sportier. But if I was looking for, let's say, an SUV, I just want a big SUV for myself, and, you know, perhaps I wasn't as concerned about comfort, and granted the X7 is still, of course, very comfortable, I would probably get the X7. This really depends on what you're looking for. The X7's a little over-styled, not necessarily in a bad way. It's definitely lots of styling there. This is a little more classic, imposing style, where the X7's a little bit, you know, overdone. So it really just depends on what you want. They're both good vehicles, as I said. But yeah, you know, in terms of pricing, very similar, $87,000 starting price here on the GLS. X7 starts around the same. Escalade, again, around the same. All good vehicles, depends on what you're looking for. I also can see the GLS being a little bit better off-road than the others as well. It also, of course, has the adjustable air suspension, which is nice, and it's off-road mode. So, you know, well, we're not going to be going, like, per se, mudding out in the forest or something with any of them. The GLS does feel the most robust, and, like, you know, could do more off-road than the others as well. So, hey, that's all we got for you guys today. Hopefully you've enjoyed our little review here on the 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450. For any questions, please drop them in the comment section below. Would love to answer them. And yeah, guys, you know, don't forget, subscribe, like the video, and if you want something with a little bit more power, Mercedes does have your back with the 8-cylinder engine in the GLS if you prefer that, and then the full-out AMG model. So you have two options, the GLS 580 V8 model or the full-on AMG model, which is really performance focused. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for you today. Take care. Until next time, I'm Kyle from Unboxed Autos.